The old woman carefully lifted the dusty cloth to reveal a beautifully crafted antique mirror. The young woman standing before her couldn't help but gasp. Its ornate silver frame was a testament 2 years gone by, each curve and flourish telling a silent story. The glass, though slightly tarnished, held the promise of unveiling a world of reflections. Intrigued and perhaps a bit impulsive, the young woman purchased the mirror. As she carried her newfound treasure home, she couldn't shake off the feeling that it was more than just an antique. These visions were terrifying, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the capricious nature of fate. They raised questions about the choices that had led to these alternate outcomes and whether she could ever steer her own life away from such bleak possibilities. In that alternate life, she was surrounded by the love of her family, her friends, her life partner. They were celebrating something, laughing, their faces lit up with joy. And then the woman in the mirror raised her glass in a toast, her eyes sparkling with happiness. The terror that had gripped her before was replaced by a quiet understanding. She no longer saw the visions in the mirror, the alternate lives, the other universes. Instead, she saw herself, her own life, her own reality. And in that reflection, she saw the need for change, the desire for growth, the hope for a better tomorrow. The mirror, once a source of fear and uncertainty, became a symbol of clarity and self-awareness. It was a reminder that the life she saw in its depths was hers to shape, hers to change, and ultimately, hers to live. The mirror had not been trying to taunt her or show her what could have been. It had been trying to show her what was, to force her to confront the truth. It seemed to thrum with a subtle energy, a silent echo of past lives. The visions in the mirror became more frequent, more vivid. They bled into her waking hours, blurring the lines between reality and the fantastical realm the mirror presented. She began questioning her sanity, wondering if she was losing her grip on reality. Was she truly seeing into other lives, other universes, or was she simply deluding herself? When she finally placed it in her room, the young woman excitedly leaned in to admire her reflection. But what she saw took her breath away and chilled her to the bone. She was here, she was in her own life, and in this life she was crying. Tears streamed down her face, reflecting the dim light of the lamp beside her. The sight of her own misery in the midst of the mirror's joyous display was too much for her to bear. Gazing back at her wasn't her own face, but the visage of a woman who looked remarkably similar yet was undeniably different. She cried out, her voice echoing in the vast emptiness of her room. In that moment, she understood. The mirror was not just a portal into other lives, it was a mirror to her soul. It was reflecting the truth that she had been trying to deny. She was unhappy in her life. The relationships that were supposed to bring her joy were causing her pain. The dreams that she had once harbored were now distant and unrealized. Her hair was styled differently, her clothes were unfamiliar, and there was a haunted look in her eyes that sent shivers down the young woman's spine. Confused and frightened, the young woman stumbled back. She looked at the mirror again, expecting to see her own face. But every time she looked into the mirror, it showed a different version of her life. Sometimes it was a life where she was happier, healthier, more successful. Other times it was a darker reflection, showing a life full of pain, sickness, and despair. It was as if the mirror was offering glimpses into alternate timelines, parallel universes where choices had been different, where paths diverged and lives played out in myriad ways. At first, these visions confused and frightened her. The mirror seemed to be taunting her, showcasing lives she could have lived, choices she could have made. There were days when the mirror showed a life that seemed better, more fulfilling than her own. It depicted a world where she had excelled in her career, where she had found true love, or where her family was whole and happy. These visions filled her with longing and regret, making her question her own life's path. Why had she not chosen this path? Why had life dealt her this hand and not that one? But then there were other days when the mirror offered a darker glimpse into alternate realities. It showed lives marred by illness, loss, and failure. As the days turned into weeks, the young woman grew increasingly disturbed. One evening, as the young woman stood before the mirror, she saw herself smiling back at her. But here's the thing. In that moment, the young woman realized that she was not in that life. The young woman stumbled back, falling to her knees in front of the mirror. As the realization washed over her, a strange calm descended upon her. From that day on, the young woman's life changed.